confirmation there. You can just see how much Spurs had with regards to chances compared to PSG, but in the end, it was Luis Enrique's side who got the win. Right then, where do we start here? Let's start, Nedum, with the narrative going into this, and pretty much throughout much of this game was, well, look, PSG have only had 5 days back. Spurs, of course, are much more progressed with regards to their pre-season. So why did it happen in the way that it did, in that Spurs started the better of the two teams, but faded? Because surely PSG should have done that, given their lack of preparation.
That is a very good point. Quite rare for you, but that's a very good point.
Yes, it's quite long-winded as well.
It was. And I think as we watched the game, you could see Spurs were ahead of PSG in terms of the fitness side of things. And the way that they were playing, you could see they were trying to get used to what Thomas Frank wanted. You know, Vicario's taken some direct free kicks, as we saw with the first goal, which maybe he hasn't done in the last 2 years. So you see it, and they're in the ascendancy. PSG, they're making so many little mistakes. You've seen players who don't really give the ball away, giving the ball away. They look really tired, they look sloppy. But in fairness, the changes made a difference. Bringing on a Fabian Ruiz, bringing on a Lee, bringing on Gonzalo Ramos, it kind of changed the way that PSG were playing, which they needed, because for me, they weren't really competing as such with Spurs. So yes, you'd hope that the fitness side of things would be able to make the difference for Spurs, but it just goes to show again, sometimes you can have the fitness, you can have the bodies in the key areas, but you need to finish the game off. And unfortunately, from a Spurs perspective, we've kind of seen that.
Spurs made substitutions and they reacted negatively, didn't they? In the first half, they had 5 at the back. They kept the wide men relatively quiet, and then in the second half, all PSG did was come round the sides. The 2 goals came, the first goal came from a cross, cleared, Lee scored. Second one came from a cross. They looked very narrow and they dropped off. They stopped pressing. So whether that was just from Thomas Frank's substitutions or whether he said, let's just defend what we have, we will never know. But they allowed PSG to get further up the pitch in the second half and allowed them to almost be camped on the edge of the Tottenham penalty area. And when that happens, you're bound to concede in the end.
I would agree, and I think the stat that sort of sticks out to me is the fact that Spurs had 26% possession. Don't get me wrong, there's one point in the first half where they don't need the possession to control the game, but as time is passing, like you need at some point to have somebody step up or have a group step up and sort of take some of the sting out of the match, you know, finish the game off, and that's what like quality teams would do. And you could make a case that it's early for them with the new manager in the season and so on. But to win that type of game, at some point, you've got to stop encouraging PSG to start coming forward. Because at some point, like, they'll gain an opportunity, and that's what they did.
Well, they did it for the first 45 minutes, didn't they? Yeah. They were fine in the first 45 minutes, as you rightly said. PSG had the ball, had the majority of the ball, but didn't go anywhere. Tottenham just counter-attacked, sat in, defended well, countered, and waited for free kicks. Second half, it changed. They didn't go forward, they just dropped, and then they dropped again. And as the clock was getting nearer the 90 minutes, they dropped again. And that's when it spelt danger, really. They should have hung on, really, but, you know, it's just the way it is.
For PSG, I suppose, a sign of a great side. Didn't play particularly well, got the job done, bit more silverware.
Yeah, I mean, for PSG, kind of, especially given how the Club World Cup final went, you come into this one, and to your point, on the back of not an awful lot of training, up against Spurs, and second best, but grew into the game. And to the boys' point, Spurs had their part to play in that, and PSG being better, certainly, in the second half. For PSG, listen, you understand, you take the Club World Cup for what it is. You don't expect too many bumps in the road, certainly in Liga, in terms of defending that title. And then with the new format of the Champions League, they will continue to grow into that competition, as they did last year. So for PSG, it's fine. It's business as usual. For Spurs, I guess while you are talking about Europa League winners, there's you still want to see who Spurs are under Thomas Frank, and kind of giving up a lead in this manner, dare I say, a usual manner for Spurs, just feels, it feels a whole lot worse than maybe a pre-season friendly should.
Did we get any indications as to what changes you'll see Frank made compared to the Postecoglou style, long throws?
It wasn't necessarily the long throws, because there were quite a few of them. And we could put that under the umbrella of just being quite direct, you know, being aggressive, let's say that. Because in terms of the first half as well, when they were out of possession, there was lots of man-to-man marking. They were going to press as high as they could, trying to disrupt the opposition. That's all great. But then as the game was developing, you thought, which chances are they going to create in general play here? And there wasn't too much, and there was an emphasis on those set pieces. Like, Danso probably didn't know he had a long throw until this season, but now he's got a great long throw. You know, you've got players in the box who are winning some of those flick-ons, creating opportunities, and that's great. Like, that's where the goal came from, the first goal. But in terms of general play, I didn't see that much today, but it's probably not worth overreacting to because the season hasn't fully hit its sort of
And also,
speed
they're
yet.
playing really good opposition today.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you wonder whether he's changed it, particularly just for this game today. Let's change it round to try and win, like Chelsea did in the Club World Cup. Try and upset them, win the game, and then go back. Because I can't see them starting the Premier League playing that deep five at the back and pressing, against every single opposition. No chance.
When we kick off the Champions League, will PSG be favourites?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. Why wouldn't they be?
Well, because they lost the Club World Cup against Chelsea. Do you not,
Chelsea
do you not
favourites.
remember that?
Chelsea favourites. Chelsea favourites. That's it. Chelsea favourites.
How
Chelsea
dare you?
favourites.
Don't join in this ESPN FC narrative against Chelsea.
Against Chelsea or the Club World Cup?
What? Against both?
They won the Champions League. They were the best team in Europe by a country mile, and they've won. The fact that there was a made-up tournament in the summer that shouldn't knock the fact that Paris Saint-Germain will start off favourites. I think they are favourites. They haven't done a lot in the transfer market, have they? But I still think they will be favourites going into the
Do
competition.
you agree, Nedum?
Yeah, I would say so. I would agree with that. And we have seen them play really good football in 2025. And there's no reason to believe that will stop in the next weeks and months and so on. And, who knows, maybe there'll be a boost with Dembele potentially lifting a Ballon d'Or as well. And for Enrique, he's starting to build the next stage of this in terms of discussions about the goalkeeper as well. So, I think they're right to be favourites.
In case you missed it during our highlights, it, of course, was quite some suits that Spurs were sporting today. And what did it make us think of, Macca? We go back to the FA Cup final how many years ago?
Is that what we're going back to?
Why else will we?
Was it 95? It's 30 years.
96.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Boy.
You Fowler, Redknapp there.
And what have they in common? Oh, both teams lost.
Do you still have yours?
Oh, give it a rest. Of course I don't have it. What? Give it a rest. Of course I don't have it.
Well, I think my
Has anybody got a suit from 30 odd years ago?
That one you would, wouldn't you?
No, why would I have lost?
I bet Stevie
I was
has.
about to say, I bet
Stevie's not there for another suit, is he? Let's be
I
honest.
doubt I had that suit a week after that game, let alone 30 years after
Have you still got your FA Cup final suit?
No, Dan.
Oh, goodness.